Great morning, Djeinabou. Thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Well, you're welcome.
So, first of all, about 2 weeks ago, right,
Mm-hmm.
you shared a story that really disturbed me because we grew up in Guinea, you and I, with
Yes.
our three other siblings, with our mom and dad. And our family were not rich, but we also were not poor. We were well off, we had everything we needed, right?
Yes.
But you told me that when you reached puberty, you had some experience of period poverty initially.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, One thing may be due to the lack of knowledge about it, and the other thing is due to the lack of products. Can you
Mm-hmm.
talk more about that experience?
Well, yes. Hey, I am Djeinabou. I remember when I first saw my period, I actually had no idea what period is about. I remember I remember I just saw blood coming out of myself while I was in school, right? And I came back home, but I was really ashamed of sharing that with the people I was living with. So, and the thing is, I actually wasn't living at that time with my mom because I left them in another town to come to school in another town where my grandparents live. So I was living with my aunts, and I was just scared actually to tell them that I saw blood over there because they would ask me how did I
Over where?
get really. What do you mean over?
Okay, keep going.
um, So I was just scared to tell them that I saw blood, right, coming out of me, and because I'm gonna have to explain to them how did that happen and all that. So I ended up like hiding it from them for like a day or so. I remember I used like tissues or like paper towel to try to prevent the blood from getting into my clothes, but it actually didn't work out because my aunt finally found out, and she asked me what's happening. I told her that I'm seeing blood and I had no idea how that happened. And I remember she gave me like a sanitary pad to use at that time, but she didn't even tell me how to use it. So I remember being in that restroom and actually tearing up the package, then tearing up like the layers, like where the cotton is, because I was thinking, okay, maybe I need to have the cotton. That's what's gonna prevent me right, from seeing the blood coming, like from prevent the blood from getting on my clothes. And so that's how I destroyed that first part. And but I still used it. And I after that she actually took a cloth, and she teared it up in like small pieces for me to use for like later on my period. So that's what I mean. I realized that maybe the package of cotton, like sanitary pad that she was using is way expensive, and she couldn't buy for every girl in the house, and she's the only one using it, I guess. So anyway, I use those like a little piece of clothes for sometimes. I think,
Wow. Did
yeah.
she tell you anything about like to anything to worry about, or for example like, oh, Jaina will be aware that there could be infections, or when this happened come to me and stuff like that. She just gave to you. How did you sanitize it first of all?
Well, actually, that's funny because she didn't tell me anything about it. She just like told me to fold it and put it in my underwear and use it like a pad, right? That's what she told me. So to sanitize it, I just wash it. I guess I wash it like I wash
Do
a
you remember where
underwear.
that cloth came from?
Well, it was like those African clothes, like I don't know how they call it in English, but it's just like a piece of African cloth that she teared up. I mean, it's a piece that she used to use, and she just teared it up because it was old enough, I guess, to be disposed like that.
Wow, so it's not it's something that I guess she's not using anymore, that she maybe she had washed and it's in her mirror, so it's not even sanitary.
No, I mean there was nothing like okay sterilizing or sanitary. No, it was just like a piece of clothes that is like clean to standard because she used like soap and water to wash it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I also use because it was something that I use like I reuse. It's not just that you use it once, so I use like you can reuse it.
Yeah.
So you wash it by hand, and you dry it and you can reuse it again. And
Yeah.
yeah, I used it. I remember I used it for some time until I went back like with my mom, and then um, yeah.
During that time, were there any infections, or like did you have any infections throughout your life, and how do you deal with that in Guinea, being that is you don't just come and talk to somebody about something. There's no really. I don't think there's a doctor. I mean, there may be a doctor, but
Yeah.
I never heard about checkups for women.
Yes, that's funny though, because I think I actually heard about checkups later in life, like from someone else, like some other cousin. She told me that her mom actually used to take her and do checkup. That's never happened to me. The first time I went to see a gynecologist over here by myself, so I had no idea that women should do that. And yes, there were infection, because there was like time where there's like some kind of how do you say that? I don't know the word, but so those things happen, and you never you never tell like anyone. You just like wait it, let it pass, right? It's just like something that's it's not normal, but it's just something that happens. So you wait it off, and you keep like. And it will pass. I never talked to anyone about it, because actually I never talked to anyone about like period, or like what kind of action I need to take to clean myself or to protect myself
Wow.
from infections.
Wow. So one of the biggest cause of all this period poverty is this thing called taboo that's happened in our communities, right?
Yes.
Underserved communities that we came from do not believe in talking about this stuff. They feel like this is something just for women to talk about. Men should not be involved, right? And even women, they feel embarrassed talking about this, right?
Yeah.
How did that? I feel like because of that, so many girls in our communities, in our culture, reach puberty without knowing what's happening to their body,
Yes.
right? And they just have to figure it out.
Yeah. Yes, and that's actually what happened to me. When I reached puberty, I didn't know about it. All I know that it was that actually, like during at night when we read the Quran, so there was like another cousin that was living with us, like Fanta. I remember during certain period she don't like read the Quran, and I used to ask why can she read the Quran. They were like, no, leave her alone. She can read it right now. So after I saw my period for the first time, that's when I started connecting the dots. But I never had a conversation with anyone, and I think that's the really like worst part of it. It's not even like about not having the necessary like parts or what's needed. It's about not having the information, not even knowing about like period, or knowing like about action that you need to take, knowing that this is something normal. That's not like something you are ashamed. And you talked about taboo, and it's something that's really like big in our community, like in our culture. Like it's not just that men don't talk about like women things. It's even women, like old women, they don't talk to girls about those things, because they believe, okay, telling them those information may push them to want to learn more and to discover themselves and to be more like, let's say, sexual active, and they don't want those girls to be that, because they want them to focus on something else until they get married.
So you feel like the main taboo part is like they don't want even women to talk about this, because they don't want women to talk about sex, because
Exactly.
a good woman supposed to be a woman who never have sex until they're
Exactly.
married, who never
That's,
think dirty and stuff like
I never had a real conversation with anyone about this, but that's just how I feel. I feel like all the actions that like our moms and our aunts took, like were raising us and not talking about those things. It's about making sure that girls don't know enough, so they don't go find out enough, and then they're gonna like try to do stuff that they shouldn't be doing. Because for them, a girl who know a lot about sex, or who's sexually active before marriage is a bad girl. So they don't want that, and that's where this come from. That's why those discussions never happened before it happened. It's just like when it happened, okay, now it's your time. You just like go, like you follow the flow. You follow what's going on.
What happened before?
Yeah, what happened before.
Follow the culture, everything that you found. That's
Yes.
exactly what you're supposed to do. You can't do what nobody else have done.
You can do what nobody else have done, and you cannot ask about it too. It's not like even like trying, because I think they don't trust the kids enough, or they don't trust girls enough to be like to be able to make decision, to be able to decide to be like what that's what they want. They want to be good. They don't want to get sexually active before they married. They don't want, so they don't trust the girls to make that decision. They believe that those girls cannot do that, cannot make those decisions. So they try to limit the information about sex and about sexual like activities and about everything that have to be for your sexual like system, and doing that you don't talk about it first, and then make sure that the girl will like stay in ignorance, like they don't know about it. So what you don't know about, you won't go find something else about it because you don't know about it.
Wow. So growing up in Guinea, right? I know you went until you left Guinea about age 15, 16, right? And so you were about 10, 11 years. So you grew up in Guinea basically, and you had a lot of friends. Did you see the impact of period poverty on girls compared to the men, right? In school, do you feel like this influenced girls in a bad way?
Well, yes, because I remember like there was a lot of times when the blood get in your clothes, like in the skirt that you are wearing or in the dress that you are wearing, because like the pad that we were using is not like good enough, right? And sometimes girls get ashamed of that. They stay like in one place. If there's like after, let's say break time, they don't get out of the classroom. They just sit on that chair until the teacher comes back, and they like keep studying, because they don't want no one to see the blood from their dress. Or sometimes they put like, when it's time to leave, they take their backpack and try to hide it because they are ashamed for people to see it. And that's because like the pad that we were using, that's what a lot of girls were using, is just like those pads, because that's something that you can reuse and it's like cheap. So it's not like good enough to prevent blood from getting into your clothes,
From leaking.
So yes, so I saw that a lot of time, and that actually happened to me too. Like when I know that when I see my period, I try my best to limit like my walking and
In school.
So it's like you are a prisoner, because you need to stay in one place so no one knows what's going on, and you need to be like staying in a chair so no one sees it.
Do you remember any of your girlfriends dropping out of school, or maybe even somebody who used to be number one, number two, because of all of this? Like they started missing classes and then going down even.
Well, the thing is, even if they did like drop out or they did leave school, no one knows like why, because no one talk about this, right?
Wow.
So there was some people who did, but that doesn't mean like we know that's why they did, right? It was like, okay, she dropped out, or maybe, oh, okay, she went somewhere else, oh, okay, she's not here anymore. It wasn't like a discussion about, okay, was it because of her period or because of that.
Wow. So period poverty lead to so many other deleterious effects, right? Besides dropping out of school, and for many women, right, it's also lead to early marriage. In our family, we have so much examples, not just from our aunts who lived in older times, right? But we also have cousins who went through this, right? Another thing is oppression, women oppression. We're gonna talk about oppression later,
Okay.
but can you talk about your experience, about how you feel seeing some of your cousins who are so young forced into marriage?
Well, I remember like once I remember my mom talking on the phone about someone getting married, and he wasn't my cousin, he was a niece of mine, and she was like 1 year younger than me. She was, at that time I think she was 15 at that time
Wow.
also. But the thing is, what I remember was my anger, right? Because I remember she was talking. My mom was talking to someone else on the phone that they are marrying her. They are marrying her because all her aunts grow old without a husband, so they need to marry her really quick. So she don't have to be a old girl without a husband, right? So they married her, and I remember we listening to her. I was really angry about it because I feel like that's not a good reasoning. And it was a forced marriage because that girl, she was out. She went to a friend, and she came back. She found out she's married. She had no idea what's going on.
Wow.
That's just what happened. She was living in the village, of course, and the thing is, I mean, it was valid. And to this day, she's still married to that man. She have kids with that man.
No foundation of love.
Well, our parents have the thing says that love, like you build love
As you
after
go,
the marriage.
after you marry.
Yeah, so that's what they say, and most of the time also they say that, or they want us to believe that they choose, they always choose what's right for us because they want what's right for us, and that's true. I'm sure all of them wants what's right for their kids.
But sometimes they don't know.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. Maybe they don't know what's right. I mean, it's right. It's true also that old people know more, and they have lived longer, so they have more experience, and experience really counts. But that doesn't. Every person is unique. Every person have their unique DNA, right? So for me, you may think that's right for someone, but that doesn't mean that's what's right for someone. And for me, it's all about being able to make your choice, right? Being able to choose. You can choose to marry someone at that age. You can choose to do something else, but you need to be your choice. And I feel like the best thing is, it's not to make decision for the kids. It's to teach them how to make their decision, and to make sure that they give them the tools they need to make their own decisions.
Wow, this is amazing. This hurt my heart, Djeinabou.
Yeah.
One of the things is that Women Relief Initiative, one of the big goal of Women Relief Initiative is women empowerment, right?
Yes.
And period poverty and so many other things in our culture, not just in Guinea, but in so many under-resourced communities around the world, right? The taboo culture lead to oppression of women. There is a big gap between women and men as far as equality goes, right?
Yes.
And you wrote a lot of books and novel about oppression. One of the books that you wrote that I'm reading right now, I promise you it's an amazing book, and I'm not lying to you. It's called
Thank you.
it's called Excised.
Exciser pour ne pas être excité.
Excise for not
Excited.
Excise to remove the ability to be excited.
Yes, that's exactly.
Yeah, that's an amazing title.
Yes.
So for people who don't know, excision is the idea of clipping the clitoris.
Well, the funny thing is, I just learned by reading a book that Kajata Gina advised me that there's so many kind of excision, and that actually the excision that I went through was the luckiest one, the easiest one, and the least with the risk. So there's so many kind of excision. There's 3 of them. There's one where they actually clip all the clitoris. And there's the other one where they clip just part of it, right? And there's the last one, which is the bad one, which made me cry every time I read that book, is the one where they actually clip it, but they close they close the vagina.
The vaginal opening.
The vaginal opening, so they close it.
Wow.
So there's only a small opening so you can pee. That's the only opening that there is.
Are you serious?
So I couldn't believe after reading that, actually. I was...
So the idea is for somebody not to have sex. What about when they get married?
That's the worst part, because the night you get married is the night then that your husband have the right to cut it out and have sex with it. I mean, when I read that, believe me, I cried, I couldn't stop my tears. And after that, I couldn't like stop looking at Google and trying to understand the process, because it was too much for me. And that's when I realized how lucky I was, because when I started writing this book, I was just talking about the fact that they are taking that part of you, they are like taking that the clitoris part of you, because they are saying, because that's the excited part. So if they take that part out, you won't be excited anymore. You won't be thinking about boys. You won't be a bad girl. You will be a good girl into your marriage. So that's the idea. So that's when I started. That's why I wrote the book. And actually, the first chapter is like a personal experience of mine. It's like something that I lived, and that's something that cannot get out of my mind, no matter how old I get. It's an experience that I cannot forget. And it wasn't that violent, right? But it was still like hurtful.
That is violent.
Yeah, well, compared to the book I read and compared to what I learned, that's why I'm like, I am actually the lucky one. I didn't know that until I read that book.
Are you translating this book in English?
I am actually working on it.
Djeinabou, we need to work on this. People
No,
need to come
seriously.
out. You need to go out, Djeinabou. Djeinabou, I started reading your book. I promise you, this is not lying to you. I started reading to your book, and I never know what's coming next. I always try, because it's a novel, it's a fictional novel. I try to identify what's next, right? It's like I'm
Yes.
investigating,
Yes.
but I'm always turned down. That's an amazing feeling. People want to read that kind of book.
Let me tell you something. Actually, when you know why I wrote that book, it wasn't even like I didn't start like the first chapter before, or the idea, oh, this is gonna be a story, this is gonna be a book. When I wrote it, I wrote a post about excision on my page, and that was chapter one. Chapter one, when I described how they pulled my legs apart and they cut what they needed to be cut in. And I remember that so many people, they didn't comment the post on Facebook. They went to my messenger and they tried to tell me, oh, you shouldn't talk about those stuff, you shouldn't do that. That's really like, that's so private and all that. And I was like, really?
Who said that?
I mean, there's a lot of people. There's cousins that I know that told me that. There's people that I know that told me that. The first thing I did, and that's really like, I'm the kind of person who, sometimes there's like a discussion that I don't want to get into, because I feel like it's too low a debate. So I started by trying to see if someone come to me and tell me, oh, this is shouldn't be on a public place like Facebook. I just try to offend them. But after that, I was like, no, this is not like the way to go. Actually, I was starting to try to discuss with other people and ask them, is it what happened that's really like shocking, or is it that I shared this story that's shocking? Because the thing you need to understand is that I'm not like someone like a sample, like, or something that's happened to some people. More than 90% of girls, like when you take 10 people, 9 girls, like when you take 10 girls, 9 girls went through that. More than 9 actually, like 9.95%. So 95 girls in 100 go through that in Guinea. So that means the people who don't like go through that are like the one you need to look for. They are the exception, not like the rule is you need to go through it. So for you to come to me and tell me, oh, you sharing this story, that's so private, you shouldn't share it. That's really hurt me, and that's actually really pushed me to write that story. It actually pushed me to keep writing the story, and it pushed me to actually come up with like other ideas and to talk about other issues that are there to me when I was writing the book. And the funny thing is, when I started chapter 1, I had no idea the last chapter gonna be that. I had no idea. I just wrote one chapter at a time, and at the end it came out to be a story that I really actually love too.
Whenever millions come to you and tell you to be quiet, that's when you need to speak up.
Yes.
There are so many girls right now in that place that want you to speak up, right? And I know in our culture, right, we really care about respecting our family and stuff like that, right? We really do. But one thing that I'm realizing right now, right, it's not about making somebody happy, but it's about helping as many people as we can. We want to help our family, but if our family is good, they're okay, we have the responsibility to go and help the people who are not okay.
Yes, that's true.
Right?
Yeah, that's actually true. And I mean, that's the thing. I mean, this is like they call it like people say it's religious, but it's not. Like there's nowhere in the Quran, like in our like religion or in our holy book, where they say you should do that to girls. It's not. Like it's just a tradition that is started like a long time ago.
No basic foundation.
Yeah, exactly.
No evidence.
And that's the thing. If you start the debate with like old people, they want I remember
What happened when people die from
the
this?
funny thing is, actually, I remember I asked my mom, why do you have to like circumcise girls? And she was like, because that's what we have been doing.
Your
And
aunt said that.
Yeah, that's her. That's just simple for her. Like that's what we have been doing, and you can ask beyond that because that's what
I'm
have
really
been doing.
interested to know, Djeinabou, what happened when people say, oh, she's gonna be a bad girl, she's gonna go and like to have sex, and then she's gonna be pregnant, she's gonna be a bad girl. But what does people say when somebody die from this? What does people say when somebody are sterile?
No, actually that's easy.
No.
They say, oh, it's God. That's God. It goes. That's
Wow.
God.
Now I'm
like,
thinking about it. There are so many of our cousins. I mean, we don't have to talk about it, but there are so many of some of our cousins are sterile, and this may be because of it.
Exactly. That's the thing about it. When you tell them, like you ask them, what's the good thing about it, and they tell you, oh, because we have been doing the same, like we have been doing it. We found our parents doing it, so that's what we do. So that's the only part where they say, oh, that's. But like you said, people lose actually a lot of blood from that. I mean, mine was that's what I'm telling you. After reading so many stories, mine, I'm lucky to go through that like I did, because I went to someone. She wasn't a doctor. She didn't have no degree or something. So my aunt actually took me to her, and I was alone. I remember I was there. I mean, in the room, and there was like other girls, the girls like her girls. So they have to hold me down, and they have to do what they have to do. So, but anyway, after that, I went back to my aunt, and she took care of me. I was the only one who went through it, so she was only like her, they was take care of only one person. There's girls that have to go to the villages, or girls who live in the villages who go through it, and it's a lot of girls, and I'm sure the woman that who did that to me is more safe, because I mean, more maybe used to doing it, and more safe, when you come to not hurting you too much, than the woman at the village, because they may have been using the same knife actually, through those girls, and those girls, they all spend days away from everyone else in some kind of, it's not the forest, but somewhere far from their family. So they stay days over there to get to heal, and it's not that they, I mean, people they are there to look at, look to take care of them, but they don't it's not it's a lot of girls together, so they don't have time for them. So girls can lose the blood over there, and the thing about being in the village is that there's no hospital close, right? So you can be losing too much blood until you get to a nearest hospital, which is really far and really hard to access, and you can die too, in the road, by losing your blood. And there's other things that can happen, like we said. You can be that can impact your
ability to have kids.
Yeah, your ability to have kids. That can impact your ability to have sex, because you don't feel it, and actually you don't feel anything because they take what you're feeling. So there's a lot of things that happen. And for me, the hard part is when you ask about why is this happening, because we have been doing this for so long time, and the only answer you have is what we have been doing, those questions.
This is sick. Okay, let's stop here. We need to talk about it. We need to keep talking about this, but let's stop here today. Chapter 1. Keep shining, guys.